Yeah, super. Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Conversations with My Father.
And welcome back, everybody. Your support and encouragement is keeping us going admirably, and we hugely appreciate it. Thank you.
Certainly do. Now, some of you may have seen some additions to. We do like a snack or a drink during an episode, pre-episode, but generally during to keep us going, because they are 45 minutes to an hour long.
Yes.
Sustenance is important. Got to keep the energy high. And we have very kindly been supplied some incredible nibbles and snacks and juices by a lovely company called Fresh Fitness Food. So a big thank you to them. We're gonna actually have a little code, conversation 55, which I'll leave in the description below if you're watching on YouTube, for £55 off a 5-day trial. So usually it's £135 for a 5-day trial, and it now brings it down to just 80. So that is valid for new customers, which is very exciting. Do you know much about FFF at all?
In as much as we've been to see them,
Yeah.
and I looked rather like Peaky Blinders.
You did actually look quite gangster-esque.
Tommy Shelby, who became a bit of a hero as far as I was concerned. I even went out and bought one of his flat caps, which I thought was perfectly admirable, and I enjoy wearing that.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, there's a video that we've put up saying a big thank you to Fresh Fitness Foods, who have kindly kind of decided to sponsor us kind of moving forwards. And there was this really cool clip of Dad and I walking, and you do look quite Peaky Blinder-esque.
Yes.
It's in slow-mo as well, which makes it even better. But do you know what they're about and who they are, what they provide, other than food?
Well, good quality, healthy food and drink, which is...
I don't know if you can see here. I'm going to try and see it. So if you can see on my plate here, we actually have a Millionaire shortbread little snack, lovely little carrot cake and a cookie dough ball as well. Some of the things they've sent us. And they come in this very fantastic and easy to use recyclable packaging. And it gives you a full breakdown of what's in them, the calorie count, etc. And they are just brilliant. They are a completely bespoke and personalised food delivery company they provide overnight service that's completely. It is pretty much faultless. They are incredible. They've been going for 6-7 years now, and I know Casper, the CEO, I suppose you can call him,
Yes.
the mastermind behind it all, for a while, and he's just absolutely nailed it. And if you live in London, they are second to none when it comes to delivering delicious, bespoke, incredible food. You can jump on a call with their nutritionists, their dietitians, so on, to create a meal plan that is completely bespoke to you and your needs.
Yes.
Which is fantastic.
Marvellous.
So would you ever like to? Well, you need to.
I think that's more than a 60-second plug. So
well,
let's
exactly.
get
But there's
cracking.
no need to make 60 seconds. It's just I want to say a big thank you because they're
Absolutely right.
incredibly generous. Would you like a little
Yes,
drink?
let's get chatting. What's the subject of today?
Well, indeed, we want to, seeing as Valentine's Day is just round the corner, when this will go out. We thought we'd talk about. I'm actually going to try the other one, the turmeric one. We thought we'd discuss love and the subject matter of love and relationships and what it means to us, our experiences with it. Thank you. And we thought, especially as well, given what's going on in the world at the moment with this horrendous earthquake in Turkey, it seemed quite apt to talk about love and giving and kindness and so on, and how important it is, because the world seems to be uniting incredibly well, and aid being given to Turkey and
Syria.
And in Syria, exactly. And we just want to kind of highlight that and just say, just a big well done to everyone who's raised money so far for that, and it's very, very admirable.
That
So-
is delicious, by the way.
Good. What is it? Berry delicious. That's what
Yes,
they call
very
it.
nice
It's
indeed.
tasty turmeric. But yeah, we want to come on to love, and I suppose talk about the different types of love and how much, or what our experiences are of it, and have been over the years we've been around.
Have you got compassionate there?
We have, yeah, because I've wrote down the different types of love. Now I may have missed some out here, but these are the ones we kind of found out and agreed with. So friendship is a big one. You can love a friend in many different ways, but friendship being one. Infatuation for someone, often
Yes.
the honeymoon phase that I'm sure you and I have both been in, or we have both been
Oh,
in.
I think so, yes.
Passionate love. You know much about that?
Yes, very
Good.
much so.
Compassionate love as well.
Yes.
Unrequited love, which is not
Had a bit of that.
not what you want too much of. And then one we kind of added on as well was parental love, or intergenerational love, could we say?
Yes.
From a parent to a child, or child to a parent, and kind of talk about those and our experiences with them. Where would you like to start?
I'd like to start with compassion because it's
Okay.
a very recent experience. 10 days ago, we were having lunch with long-standing and very dear friends, Jane and Jonathan, and I started feeling a bit dodgy during lunch, and I know what passing out feels like, and having a bit of a faint.
Yeah.
And I thought, right, I've just got to take myself away from the table and go and lie down somewhere and get my head down.
Yeah.
And I didn't make it. And I got halfway between the table and the door, and my legs completely gave way under me.
Went down like a sack of spuds.
I went down like a sack of potatoes.
Mm.
And it was quite a surprise to me because normally I can feel these things coming and can do something about it before anything bad happens.
Mm.
But I went down, collapsed on the floor.
Mm.
And the staff at the restaurant were utterly brilliant, but Jane and Jonathan were so caring and helpful in looking after me, and Mum, of course, was there as well, but they were so on it and wanting to make sure that I was comfortable, and got into a sort of recovery position of sorts.
Mm.
And I appreciated that very much. One doesn't necessarily seek such attention, but when it happens, and friends are there to help and
a
bring
lot.
things back to normal, then it really does make a huge difference. And I just wanted to acknowledge that, and a very good example, I think, of compassionate love.
Definitely.
What else have we got on?
Well,
there?
I wanted to actually kind of go back to our first ever experience of love when it comes to relationship-wise, rather than parental love, let's say.
Yes.
Can you remember your first love?
Difficult to say because they never really got anywhere.
Okay. And what? But you have. So you then have loved someone maybe that was it unrequited?
I guess there's quite a bit of unrequited, yes.
What sort of age were you? Do you reckon when you first fell in love?
I suppose I was infatuated. We got infatuated.
Yeah, we've got infatuated. Yeah.
Infatuated by a girl at school.
What sort of age are we here?
17.
Right. Okay.
Because it was girls in the sixth form.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this is grown up.
Yeah.
But I had no experience being an only child. I had no experience of watching an older sibling courting. So I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, and I seemed to be competing with chaps who were expert at it and had so much experience, and
Yeah.
I was just useless.
But then maybe that was quite endearing to see from her, unless she it wasn't.
Not from her point of view.
No,
it wasn't,
did she
no.
think you were a bit of a wet flannel then?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, she got. I hesitate to mention this, but I'm going to anyway. I thought the way to her heart was one of these velvet cushioned A4 cards that came in a box.
Yeah.
And I sent her this,
Yeah.
and she thanked me for it, but
Yeah.
it was an embarrassment. I mean, to think about
so
it now.
you sent it in the post, and it was an A4
It was a huge, great thing.
card.
I thought the bigger
Was it a
the
Valentine's
better.
card?
Yes.
Oh, it was. So it had been this, or coming up to this day many years ago.
Yes,
now.
I would have been out shopping and.
Yeah. And it wasn't. You didn't get a thank you because of. Did you put a question mark?
I honestly can't remember.
You can't remember.
But I was really pleased when I bought it and thought
Yeah.
no one else is going to be
Yeah.
quite as generous
Yeah.
when it comes to.
And was this
cards.
was this someone who was in your class? How
Yes.
did you, yeah. And what was the was she quite popular with other boys as well?
Yes.
Then? Right. So you had competition.
I had no,
Yeah.
had no chance at all.
So, who
I
did you
even
get?
tried in those sixth form, 6 terms in the sixth form. I even tried a centre parting to see if that might.
Did
do
you?
the trick. Yeah. I thought I'm going to
Probably
look
went the other
different.
way.
Then it was useless. I had no idea
Yeah.
how to work it.
Mm. But then that went nowhere. I'm assuming
It went nowhere. Quite right.
Shame. Well, because I remember when I was younger, the first time of maybe reaching out to a girl would have been maybe doing a kind of Valentine's card, because the beauty of those, from the way we did it, where you and I, or sorry, you and Mum would tell us would to be, dear Valentine, or whoever this may be related to, and then you'd leave it with lots of love with a question mark.
Yes.
So they have no idea. And I used to send those. I think I'd sent probably my first one when I was about 11 or 12, something like that. And it was I remember the girl at school, and I don't think I ever really got one back from her. We used to, myself and close family friend, who we used to send each other
Yes.
question mark Valentines
Yes.
cards, which was always enjoyable. But I think that was more of a friendship basis. But it was
Yes.
a way of reaching out to someone and hoping that it would be reciprocated. But
Yeah. Well,
more often than not, it wasn't. So
certainly wasn't in my case. I tell you.
so moving on from
That was until I met your mother.
well, but you must have had there must have been a relationship where you were. Do you feel like you ever really were in love pre-mum?
I suppose a couple of times.
Yeah.
Um,
And that first feeling of being in love with someone,
mhm.
can you remember that?
Yes, to some extent I could.
Yeah.
Unrequited love on there is a most appalling feeling.
Yeah.
When you're really giving your heart and soul to somebody who doesn't really want it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that can be, as in that little scene in Love Actually, where Liam Neeson and his son are talking about that.
Yeah.
That hits the nail on the head.
Yeah. Spot on. I think
So
it's very, very true. So that first encounter of you feeling it, was it quite a deep rooted, quite overwhelming sensation that was hard to kind of put your finger on? Because it's very hard to explain, I feel,
yes,
falling in love with someone,
yes, it is,
and it's everyone has it differently.
Yes, and I was very, very inexperienced, and going back to university days, 19, 20, 21,
Yeah.
I was hopelessly naive and didn't really know what to do. So by the time I met Mum, was that 1982?
Mm-hmm.
My own mother had died 4 months earlier than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose to some extent, that left Dad and it left me, the two of us, dealing with the loss and supporting each other. And when Mum came on the scene, it pleased Dad no end.
Yeah.
And yes, I was pretty much in love with Mum from the word go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is rather nice.
No, it is. I would say, for my first experience really was, it's hard to, again, I didn't know whether it was fully love or I think the first time you maybe begin to question it, you think, is this actually love, or is it just you've got strong feelings for someone? I don't know. And I was one of those people that in fact, I think I've only ever told 2 people in my life, my ex and my current girlfriend, that I love them, because I always wanted to really know that it was the right thing I was saying. I didn't want to just chuck that word out there.
Yes.
Because I think it is such a powerful word to use. And if you say it when you don't really mean it, it can be quite
damaging.
Quite damaging, yeah.
I used to tell lots of girls that I loved them. I just went straight in there.
Straight in, yeah. And it didn't work. No. But it's a big thing to say to someone,
yes,
especially when it is someone who you're very attracted to.
Yes. And you, as I was saying it, I might have been thinking I really fancy you, but it came out as I really love you.
I really love you, yeah.
And so anyway, things have worked out well in the end.
Exactly. And with love, would you say there's what would be your best bits of advice to someone who's maybe in love with someone but struggling to carry on a relationship? And I mean, best bits of ways of developing love and letting it prosper and grow.
I think
because as life goes on, people change.
Yes, and it's very difficult to give or to answer that question in a helpful way, because
go for the unhelpful way then.
In my mum's case, we were going out with each other for the best part of 4 years before I asked her to marry me, which mercifully she agreed to without too much hesitation.
Yeah. Just a few seconds.
But I think going through various experiences before you commit and trying things out and making sure that you're on the same page, or you have the same values, and you respect your partner hugely.
Yeah.
You can let them chat away about things that interest them, and I regard myself as a bit of a polymath, someone who's got lots of interests, and I can talk to anyone pretty much about anything without sounding a complete ignoramus or an arse. Yes. And the same absolutely applies to Mum, and it makes me so proud that she can be like that. And I think finding that level of pride in your partner and happiness and some mutually shared views and some completely different.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it allows you to respect other people's points of view and learn something which might cause you to change your mind about certain things, which I think is very important.
Without going too deep, well, you can go as deep as you like, I don't mind. Your relationship with mum has obviously changed over the past 10 years for obvious reasons. And your, levels of intimacy and so on with mum change. And to be honest, any relationship that goes on, you guys have been together 35 years, married? 36?
Married, we're coming up to 37.
37, okay.
Or was it 36? Oh, God, I can't remember.
Yeah, 36, 37. But it's a hell of a long time to be with someone, and that, the ways, what I'm trying to say is ways of showing your affection and your love change over time. And you and mum, I've been very, very lucky to grow up in a house where the love has been so strong from you to mum, mum to you, you both to us children.
Yes.
And that is so, in my eyes, I just thought that was normal because that was what I grew up with.
Yes.
And then the older I get, the more I begin to see friends, parents going through divorce or families not being as close as previously they were. And I feel that there's, I can't thank you both enough for the levels of love you've shown to each other, which has then bled down into us kids as well. But ultimately, where I was going with this and wanted to ask is how you found that change in your way of showing your love to mum over the years, and how have you struggled with that alteration?
Yes, I've struggled with it a great deal, and so has mum. Because the operation changes me, and it is like a bereavement in many respects, because you're not the person you were, and there's part of you has died, really. And it's something that needed a lot of talking about, and living through the frustrations, and there have been moments of profound unhappiness and misery. But the bottom line is, there are still plenty of things in life, so shared experiences and joys and frustrations to be experienced, that it's, it's not the end of the world.
No.
And I would say this to anyone who's either suffering from the same thing or has lost or seen parents and relatives go through the same thing. There is still plenty of life to be enjoyed and shared, and I suppose it's caused me to consider that living for the day, carpe diem, is so important. I don't have to feel embarrassed that I'm trying to enjoy myself, rather than still working and earning a living. Now I've got past that stage and retired, and that was almost an inevitable result of my illness. I couldn't work a full day anymore. But
do you think it's brought you closer together?
In a different way. I think we were very close before.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's not one.
And it was just desperate to consider that one really big and wonderful thing, our love for each other, was going to be compromised. And one has to go through it. And as I've said before, you've told me that you can't pay someone else to do your press-ups. You've got to go through all of these things yourself. No one else is going to take it on for you. Got to do it, get on with it, and live the rest of your life in as fulfilling a way as possible.
But it's hugely admirable, because I think a lot of people take a lot of able bodies, is that the right phrase? I don't know, people that haven't been through the kind of suffering that you've been through, and plenty have been through worse. You know, we
Yes.
as dare I say, sounds funny saying this, but I feel like being the son of someone now who has had it. It is cancer. It's going to get one of us, like out of the 5 of us in our family. The
Yes,
statistics, and
statistically,
sadly it
that's-
was you, but doesn't mean that myself, Phoebe, Albert may get it. Touch wood, that doesn't happen, but statistically these things do happen.
Yes,
So,
they do.
and you do always live your life thinking it won't be me,
Yeah.
but then when it does, you just get on with it, and therefore, what I'm trying to say is there are so many people out there that have had it so worse, and the fact that you're still here, we're doing this right now, is incredible. And I do feel, you know, the relationship that you and Mum have, and we have as a family, has made the process smoother and
Yes, more tolerable.
More tolerable, exactly.
You're quite right, and it's a real test for the loving relationships.
Yeah.
But you and Phoebe and Albert have been so positive and resilient and encouraging for me that it's made it more bearable. And Mum especially, because we're together all the time,
Yeah.
is so caring and wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm just keeping going. It's coming up for 10 years now.
KBO. That's what you're doing.
And when I first had my operation and things were reviewed, I never really thought that 10 years was a likely prospect, but by golly, it has been.
Yeah. Here's to another 10.
Yeah,
well.
let's hope so.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
And thank you to all the medical staff who've done so much to keep me going this long.
Yeah, exactly. I did want to touch on slightly love from a different side.
Yes.
Heartbreak.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced it?
In what respect? In a relationship?
Have you had your heart broken before?
Difficult to say. I mean, but I haven't had that experience for so long
Yeah.
that it's difficult to.
Nothing stands out. Nothing kind of.
No, I think
jumps
I've
to-
caused it,
Okay.
which I regret to this day. To a girl at university.
Regret because you damaged her, or regret because she
Yeah.
could have been your future partner?
No, because I damaged her.
Yeah.
For being just downright selfish and inexperienced and
Yeah.
horrible. But until you have these sorts of experiences yourself from both sides,
Yeah.
breaking somebody's heart and having your heart broken, it's difficult to work out how to get it right.
I think I broke my own heart by breaking someone else's heart. I feel like when I went through a breakup, I'd never been through something as big as that before, and it was like a pain, like a genuine physical pain that you experience, and that feeling of almost being sick, and the guilt is horrible. And it was an amicable breakup that we went through, but it was still almost sometimes they're even harder, in the sense that no one's been unfaithful or there's been no cheating, whatever. It's just a kind of parting of ways. And I think that's possibly one of the hardest things to do, because if someone's unfaithful, then the overriding emotion could be hate, or you put your
Yes,
energy
anger.
towards that, and then you're like, oh, screw them, not interested. Whereas this was far more deeper rooted, and then you begin to question, like, why did I do that? Did I make the right decision? And in that process, I think I experienced almost that feeling of heartbreak,
Yes.
which is horrible. It is horrible.
Yes.
But you learn from it, and that is something that I then took on to my next relationship, and I think it did help massively. But to be the outright recipient of that, when you're so invested in someone, and for that to then be thrown back in your face, must be horrible. So that's never happened to you, as such.
I
that you can remember?
no, not in a one-off cut
Yeah.
dead. The relationship. It's always sort of drifted and drifted, and
Yeah.
sometimes I was encouraged, others I was rebuffed, and
Yeah.
so I don't think I've experienced as you've described, a big heartbreak moment.
Yeah.
Certainly with Cambridge United, there have been occasions when I've felt heartbroken, but
Very true. I mean, that's constant, really.
yeah,
That, sadly. Well, it's good in a way that hasn't. Although you can obviously learn from it and so on. So who knows? You could say it's good. Sometimes it's not.
learn to live with
Yeah.
disappointment.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, something I've been really interested by when we started thinking about this as a subject, or subject, sorry. Learning out about someone's love language. Do you kind of know what I mean by that?
You, just in case I go off on the wrong foot, you'd better just.
I'd like to know which foot you're going to go off on, though.
Well, I'm sitting down at the moment, and that's all.
Which one would you push off on?
Both of them. So what do you mean?
So love language, I mean, everyone has different ways of expressing love, and then different ways of receiving love.
Yes.
Yes. So what I mean by that is someone could be a gift giver as a way of showing their love.
Yeah.
Someone could be acts of service, providing, your, I don't know, doing, I don't know, folding clothes up for the other person, or making the bed, or little things like that around the house or so on when you live together, or whatever. Quality time spent together is another one. I'm going to forget some of these other ones. I think actual physical affection as well. So kind of touching, hugging, and so on. There are certain people show their love in different ways, and then I think actual announcing it as well. So saying the words "I love you" or words of kind of affirmation in a way.
Yes.
So do you feel that? Because learning about it or seeing how sometimes maybe relationships work really well together, or maybe break down because someone receives love in a better way, and they give it in a different way to how the other person wants it. So, for example, the relationship I'm in at the moment, I am with my incredible girlfriend. She's awesome at this, and we work so well together. She's very good when it comes to acts of service. She's shows, I think, her love in that way, and also the odd gift giving and so on. And I was just wondering if that's something you know, or you've kind of noticed in yourself, the way you show your love for mum.
Yes. So all of those I'm aware of.
Yeah, but some you'll maybe lean more towards.
Do I respond to them sufficiently well? Gifts, I think. I love giving mum flowers, and she loves receiving them. It's a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah.
Folding things up and doing stuff. Just at the moment, I'm not great at that. I just don't have the energy.
Yeah.
Which is really frustrating. And mum, bless her, does a huge amount to keep things going.
Yeah. I feel like mum's way of showing her love for you all the time would be acts of service.
Yes.
She's very, although whether that's, I mean, she's just amazing round the house doing certain things, but she's a real giver, mum, isn't she?
Yes,
without a doubt.
Absolutely. I mean, we've lost a great deal of physical love, but having said that, we're just trying to cope.
Yeah.
Which is which is okay. I mean, it's Not how we would have wanted things to be, but
No.
it
But
is
sadly,
okay.
the harsh reality is that is the hand you've been dealt right now, and you
Yeah.
have to deal with that.
Indeed.
And that is it is not a very nice thing to hear, but it is. If you're constantly kind of battling against it, it's just going to kind of wear you down, rather
Yes.
than just accepting it and being like, right, this is my life now. I know I'll go through it, I'm sure, at some stage in my life, and it's just accepting that and,
Well, I
and
hope you
making it.
don't.
Who knows? But you know, it is something that you do have to just kind of accept and just acknowledge and move through it,
Yes.
which you do incredibly well. So, but no, I was just wondering, is that different to what you thought I meant by love language?
Well, after the recent recording, when you were giving me Netflix and chill and that sort of thing,
Yes.
I was concerned that love language might be taking us off on the wrong path.
Right. Certain things you might say when you're being
Yeah, which have no real bearing on
No.
what you're asking me. So I'm glad
I was still
got
quite
that
interested. I should have let you
clarification.
go with that, actually. But it is I find it really interesting because I think communication is such a huge one for people. I think that is a way of developing a relationship and being better with my relationship with you, your relationship with Mum, my relationship with Poppy. Communication is literally the be all and end all, and if you don't have that, then it's
Absolutely right.
You can't go anywhere.
Absolutely right.
So I do think but it is building on that. It is quite interesting to see if people's love language, so to speak, kind of match up.
Well, it's the recipe for success if it does.
Yeah. What would be, as it is Valentine's Day just round the corner, to the singletons out there, is there any advice you'd give to someone who is struggling to find love right now? That's all.
I suppose
quite a big question, that.
don't leave any room for doubt when it comes to expressing affection and
Okay.
hopes.
So be very upfront.
Well,
Forward with it.
depends how old you are as well.
Yes, very true. So many different ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
I'm
I'm not well placed to advise on.
Well, you've got 60 odd years of, well, not 60 odd years of experience. Let's say 50 years, 45 years.
Yeah, of experience of not doing it correctly.
But you've learned from that, so therefore maybe advising people what not to do would be better.
Yes, I probably could
Chris
do
the
that.
love
So
guru.
don't go for those velvet or satin cards, which you could probably put your head down on it and have a good night's sleep.
How much the depth did the card
Well,
have
it
to
wasn't that big. It was more about a centimetre.
Yeah. Furry.
Possibly a bit more. No, it wasn't furry. It was sort of satin
Right.
material and roses and.
And this was
words
just something
of
you found
affection.
online, or you found it? And
No, there was no online.
Sorry, there wasn't
back
in
the late 70s.
the late 20s.
No.
Yeah.
So I bought it in a shop and thought this is really the answer.
Okay.
It wasn't.
So that's your best bit of advice.
Yeah, just be up to date and just keep it to yourself. And I suppose in terms of expressing affection, just have a few private moments and try and build on that. And no, I'm sorry, I can't really offer any up-to-date advice using social media or anything.
I think my top tip, again, I'm not the most experienced when it comes to love, but I would say is it's such a cliche thing to say, but being yourself, I feel in this day and age is sometimes much easier said than done, in the sense that there is such a pressure on the younger generation with social media, with the likes of celebrities and so on, portraying a certain image
Yes.
and a way to be, that sometimes you can kind of, kids or the younger generation mould themselves into something they think the other, the opposite sex or someone who they're attracted to, vice versa, whatever, will like, rather than actually being completely true to themselves. I feel, and I definitely went through phases of that at pre-uni, at uni, where you try and fit the mold of something you think is right.
Yes.
And actually being like the best thing I've found, I think but it only really comes with experience and being at ease with who you are, is being just unapologetically yourself, because that just
Yes.
comes through.
You never have to act.
No, you never have to act, exactly. And what's that phrase called when you like you take the mick out of yourself and you
Well, self-effacing is...
self-effacing. Yeah, I can't remember the other phrase. But you're very, you're very modest, and you almost put yourself down sometimes rather than
Yes.
putting yourself. I can't remember what the phrase is.
I think self-effacing is quite good.
Okay, it's pretty good. But I think that is a quality that is, obviously being confident, but at the same time being completely at ease with who you are. Is probably my
Yes.
top tip. Pretty good, that.
Right.
What would you like to... I feel like there's certain things you haven't asked me anything in this past 40 minutes.
No, well, it's
And I feel like
it's conversations with my father rather than conversations with my son.
Yeah, but well, so I feel like just the interviewer here.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Right, okay.
So,
should we call it there then?
what else have you got written on there?
Well, the best ways to allow... These are all just general additions, but I'd like...
Friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are lots of people I could say I loved in terms of friendship. How about you, Fred?
In what way?
Well, friendship, love. So not... there is your compassionate love, your... What was the other thing?
Compassion,
infatuation and passion and so
Yeah.
on. I think we only have room for one person in our lives who is in receipt of such love.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that... Well, I mean, you can agree or disagree. I certainly feel that way.
Yeah.
But when it comes to friendship, love, there are so many people that I would say I loved. Because they bring joy to my life.
Yeah.
We've shared moments of disaster and moments of high success and humour. So that's a love, and it's good to have it in there described as friendship, because there are so many people that...
Well, again, bringing it back to the what's going on in Turkey at the moment, that love you see for people as people are being pulled from the rubble and so on. There's a huge sense of unity there, and everyone coming together, and really the love you can see is huge. It's absolutely massive, and
Yes, it
I
is.
think, especially given what else is going on in the world, some times like that, crises that happen, it's suddenly everyone does come together, and there is actually a bit of hope for mankind and humanity when acts of love are shown like that.
Yes. To complete strangers.
To complete strangers, exactly. So almost on a different level other than friends. But I do think that is very evident at the moment. So
And it's got a long way to go, and there will still be one or two incredibly resilient people who will be pulled alive from the rubble.
Yeah. Well, definitely. But no, I think I wanted to, there is it's such a huge topic, but I did want to touch on it today, given that it is
The proximity of Valentine's.
Will you be sending a Valentine's card?
Yeah.
Yeah. One?
Yeah. So we just hope that Mum doesn't see this broadcast and
Yes.
she knows that I'm sending
That's
her
true.
a
Do you still do
Valentine.
a question mark? Keep it.
No.
Keep them on their toes? No.
No, she recognises my writing now
Right,
after
okay.
these
I used to sometimes
35
do it
years.
in my left hand. So that
Yes,
it makes
I've
me
tried
look.
that.
Yeah. That work? Mum would be like, oh, who gave me this?
No,
And get, yeah.
it
Okay.
didn't.
Never worked. But we also haven't, I meant to do this earlier in the podcast because you're meant to do your pointing down thing in the bottom right hand corner of the screen.
Everybody pay attention. About there
Roughly.
on your screen is a little box.
It's our logo actually. The
Is our
brilliant logo of,
Right, so about
Me.
here,
yeah, just there.
what do they do?
They hover them, if they're watching on YouTube, which hopefully you are, hover the mouse over it and you can press subscribe. We should have said this at the start of the episode. We said we were going to, we didn't. I hope people have got this far. But please do subscribe because it is very important that
Yes.
this gets out there and you don't miss a release of an episode.
Exactly.
And anything else that people should be doing?
Oh, well,
You're
there's
very
the
good at this
heart
now. The heart
and
yeah,
the
you do
paper
say.
plane.
The paper plane. What does that do?
Well, it's something to click on.
There are lots of things to click on a screen.
But the heart is very good.
Yeah,
And,
you're going to say the cross button in a minute as well. That would get rid of it all, wouldn't it? Yeah. Move on.
What
Yeah.
you need to contribute to this.
Well, no, because I test you. I know what to do.
Yeah, well,
I'm the one who.
you
I'm the
tell
one-
our viewer what to do next.
So subscribe is the big one. We really, really appreciate as many of you that are subscribed. I understand that sometimes it requires you to create a YouTube channel, not YouTube channel, a YouTube account. But we really do appreciate that, and it really helps the podcast move forwards. Please do share. That's the big. I think that's what you meant by an aeroplane.
Yes,
But it's
I'm sure it
it's not
is.
quite right, but there we go. And comments, we love your comments, and we have plenty more that we will be reading out in the next episode. We just wanted to kind of say a big thank you to Fresh Fitness Food to start the episode today.
This is really good stuff, everybody.
It's good, isn't it?
Very delicious.
Very delicious. As we said, we will leave the description of everything in the. We will leave the information in the description below. So please do have a look and add that code into your first order for a nice £55 discount
Yes.
if you're London based. And I suppose all that's left to say is happy Valentines.
Yes.
Happy Valentine's
Very
Day
much
to each and every one of you. We hope that you are continuing to enjoy the episodes that we're putting out, and we really hope that you can keep sharing it, keep spreading the word, and we appreciate each and every one of you.
Thank you very much for watching. Is this it? Are we concluding now?
I feel like generally what happens
Yeah.
after what we've just done there.
That's fine.
Happy with that?
Thank you again for watching, and have a very happy Valentine's. I hope that there is some really good news out there for some of you, and we'll see you next time.
Fantastic. Right, that is episode 7 over and out. Well done. Another cracker. Well done. Well